Hi, Shannon. Hello, McZeal. Thank you for joining me. My questions. Here we go. Okay. Hello. Just setting this up here. Hi, Bryant. All right. Okay, looks like we got a full house tonight for questions. If you have questions during the show about medical coding, the field of medical coding, let me know. Comment in the chat box and I will try to address them as quickly as I can. So let's go ahead and get started. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Every week I take Tuesday to answer all of the questions that come in by viewer comments through emails or from Instagram, and I roll it all into one episode to bring you guys the #1 question and answer show about medical coding, airing on Tuesday. So let us begin. All right, but first things first, guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I've got lots of really good, very real life information about medical coding on my channel. And so here we go. All right. Guy says, a wonderful Tuesday with Blues Day. I like that. Hi, Lily. Hi, Mitney. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions. And like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat box and I will address them as we get to them. All right. So the first question is, when you take the assessment test, can you use your books for that? How long do they give you to answer the assessment? So what the viewer was talking about is when you are applying for jobs in medical coding, they're going to give you a pre-assessment test. They need to be able to gauge your knowledge and, you know, how advanced are you, and if you are moldable, right, to be able to learn. And they'll be able to know by this assessment test they give you. Now, every single assessment test for every single employer is going to be different. You have to be prepared for literally anything and everything. I have had pre-assessment tests that were 25 questions. I've had some that were 100 questions. So it really all depends on the employer. There's almost no way to prep for this. There's not a pre-assessment test booklet out there. The only thing I tell people to do is to look over your book, and you can use your coding books. These are usually open book tests because they don't expect you to memorize code at all, right? It's not even necessary to do that. So you would be able to use your books, so don't panic. This is just meant to gauge where you're at. Sometimes they will ask you questions about like medical terminology. Sometimes it's the prefixes, the suffixes, or the root words. What does this mean? What does that mean? And so again, this all can be found in your coding books. So, and they may ask you like the range, what is the range of certain codes, but just rest assured that these are open books. So don't panic and think you have no access to resources. And again, however long the employer will give you. I've usually gotten 24 hours to do a test, and that was plenty for me. So it really all depends. It's not anything worth to be stressing over. This is the part that is going to be different no matter where you go. So that's my advice on that one. Someone commented, keep your circle small is great advice. I was also told I would never find a job and I chose the wrong career field. these things had me second guessing myself as well. You definitely have to be careful who you talk to. And what the viewer was talking about is, we were talking about when someone makes a comment that is not a medical coder and telling you that you may have made a mistake, or that they heard it's too hard, or that it's going away, or some other baloney. The thing is, guys, if someone that is not a medical coder is telling you what a medical coder life is like, what the profession is like, stop listening. That's all I can say. Now, these people may be well-meaning, but at the end of the day, your journey is your journey. And including a lot of people in your journey along the way, you're going to get more opinions. You're going to get more jealousy. You're going to get more people that are going to look down on your goals and your dreams. And too many people are, quite frankly, too concerned about what other people think. And sometimes it's their family members, and so that makes it even harder. But the thing is, guys, when you are doing something that you know you want to do, because you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it to better your life, you're doing it to better your family, then you need to maintain focus. Don't get everybody else involved. Yes, try to find a good support system. Everybody needs that. I had that with my mom. My mom was the one who was pushing me right there too to do this. And I say it all the time, I owe my career to my mom. So I was lucky enough to have her while I was going through this part of my life. Now, not everybody has that. And so you try to find somebody, right? And somebody may tell you, and it could be the hairdresser. The hairdresser was the one who had inspired that one video. You know, she was saying all these horrible things about medical coding to a brand new medical coder who had gone through school, passed her certification, and got her first job. She had made it through all those hurdles, so sure. And then when that hairdresser started talking, she started to think, well, maybe I should rethink this. And guys, again, don't listen to the negative naysayers, because there's going to be plenty of people out there like that. And it can be jealousy. It can be any number of things. But at the end of the day, ask people who are actually in the field. Look for mentors from the associations that you're going to belong to, either AHIMA or AAPC, or reach out on LinkedIn. There's a ton of people willing to selflessly give their time to people that are brand new in this field. I have people who reach out to me all the time, Blue, can you mentor me? Between all the channels, because I have 2 channels and I have a full-time job. Not only that, I do tutoring and a lot of other things as well. I try to balance everything. So I always tell the people, I'm happy to answer questions, but please go through the videos. I've got tons and tons of videos that give really good advice that, you know, I'm going to repeat anyway. So the advice stays the same because I'm fairly consistent. So you want to look for things that are going to be positive and move you in the right direction, because trying to rely on other people to, you know, oh, well, you know, this and this, if they're not involved in our field, then don't listen to them. That's all I'm going to say. And even if it is somebody that is in the medical field, if they are not a medical coder, please don't listen, because again, even nurses have no idea what we do. Next question. Can you please tell me if there is a medical billing self-taught course? You are typically trained to do medical billing on the job. It's not like medical coding, right? Medical coding, there's a lot of technical ability that goes into medical coding because it's everything. You're abstracting, you're comprehending what you're reading and that kind of thing. With medical billing, you are basically processing paperwork, and lots of different billing companies have different setups, different rules. They deal with different insurance companies and things like that. So this is not something that you are going to self-teach. This is something that you're going to learn on the job. Are there courses for it? Is there a certification for it? Yes, there is. However, I don't recommend them, because when you're looking at the job postings, they are not asking for billing credentials. Now, this is a very expensive field to get into. This field requires you to pay yearly dues. If you are with AAPC, you are required to pay yearly dues in order to maintain your credential. And not only that, you have to pay for continuing education units. And the more credentials you get, the more continuing education units you have to produce. So it gets more and more expensive every single time. And I tell especially brand new coders, because they are the most at risk for being taken advantage of, that being told, oh, people who have a ton of credentials get hired right away, they make the most money, is garbage. It is garbage, because of the simple fact that somebody who has one credential and somebody who has a slew of credentials that say the same thing as the one credential, they're essentially going to be able to be paid the same. And a lot of times they are. So again, it does nothing for you. The thing, if you want to add value to yourself and make yourself high caliber, then start studying your medical terminology, your anatomy and pathophysiology. Get really good with that. Take an additional course in that. That would add value to your name. Because I say this all the time, we have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. So essentially, we're trying to catch up with them to be able to understand what they're saying in this documentation. Because sometimes it is like a foreign language. You're reading it, it's like, what? Even I get confused. And I have been in the field since 2008. And I've survived ICD-9. I've survived ICD-10. So that is something that you need to think about when you're trying to add value to yourself. Don't go spending money unnecessarily, because it's going to impact you later on. You have to pay for test fees, you have to pay for CEUs and all that good stuff. So be wise about the additional credentials you add on. Get experience under your belt before you start adding on more credentials. I've seen people who are brand new with less than 1 year with a slew of credentials after their name. And I'll ask them, what does that credential do? And they can't answer me. What do you like about that other credential? They can't answer me because they don't know. So again, I'm being a friend to you guys here. Friend you've never met. Think about this before you start adding on. How many charts are you required to complete a day? So the way that it works in my facility, and it's different everywhere, I work in the outpatient setting. So there is a different requirement on the quotas for outpatient and for inpatient. And you'll notice that. But it's typically done on an average. So this means if you have a quota of 90 per day, right? And you meet your quota on Monday, but on Tuesday, you only meet 50. Now that's ridiculously low, but sometimes they happen. So now, okay, you didn't meet quota on this day. Why? If you were in a meeting, if you were doing some sort of education or something, that time is usually backed out. For me and my facility, it is. So it's going to average how many encounters did you do per hour. And then when you add up the total time of coding, does it average the target, which is 12 per hour? Does it average that per hour? And if it does, then I'm still good. So it really all depends on where you are. I've had standards where my production was 120 per day. Then they lowered it to 90 per day because I work in a specialty clinic. And they say that working in a specialty clinic, it's going to be a little bit more time consuming to get the correct codes, and they want quality over quantity. So in this instance, it works out much more beneficial for me because I'm able to really focus on what I'm doing. Now, I have heard some people have ridiculously high quotas. And by ridiculously, I mean that the facility is asking them to produce 40 per hour. Somebody commented that. To me, that's too fast. And we are still held under ethical standards that you do have to slow down to be able to get the correct information, because just pushing incorrect information through for the sake of trying to hurry up is not the right way to go. Okay, so always make sure that you are able to maintain production that is something comfortable for you. But if it's too high like that, keep looking for another job, because trying to push yourself, and not only that, the patients will suffer, the provider will suffer because of, what are you missing? So that is my advice there. All right, next question. Where do I get flashcards? You can find flashcards for any subject on Amazon, you can find them on eBay, you can find them at the bookstore, you can find them anywhere. So be sure to look anywhere and everywhere to find them. You can also make them yourself. So that is always an option for you guys. There's a lot of questions like, where can I find this? Where can I find that? Google is your friend. That is a huge part of doing your research as a medical coder or a future medical coder, is to do your research. And then the next question, do you recommend taking medical terminology before taking a course? Absolutely. Because if you have no background in medical and you are trying to sign up for one of these courses that's medical coding, and the medical terminology is not part of it, you are going to be completely lost if you try to get in through this course. And when they start looking up codes, if you don't understand what you're reading, because medical terminology is made up of Latin and Greek words, right? The parts of them anyway. So you want to make sure that you get it before you start looking in it, because it's not going to make sense. And you're really going to frustrate yourself if you do it the other way. Next question. How long does it take to self-prepare to take the CCS exam? So the question can be interpreted one of two ways, meaning how long to study medical coding and then sit for the CCS. I always recommend studying between 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months, because that's not so fast that it's going to push you to understand something that is very complex. If it is just that you are preparing to take the certification exam and you're already knowing how to do the coding part and stuff, then I would say take no more than 90 days to take the exam. Really, ideally, you're going to take it within 30 days of completing your program. And, even less than that if you are, really prepared. But if you are sitting there waiting for that feeling of, I'm waiting till I feel confident, you're never going to feel confident in the beginning. Not even I felt confident walking in to take my CCA exam. I was just relying on the things that I had learned for myself, because I'd never done this prior to being, to even studying this. I had never done anything in medical. So I was really relying on everything that I had learned. And that's all a test is just literally asking you questions about what you've learned. And people freak out about this stuff. And it's like, why? Why would you freak out? And this is stuff that you've gone over. You already know this stuff. It's just a matter of getting in there and testing your knowledge. So rather than overthinking about it, folks, go ahead and just go for it, because you've already learned it. You don't want to regret not taking the exam. There's plenty of people who finish and complete their programs and don't even sit for the certification exam because they were too afraid. And it's just such a waste. It's a waste of energy, time, and money when you do something like that. Give yourself the chance. And well, Blue, I don't want to fail. It happens. It does. And it happens to a lot of really smart people, because these exams are designed to be tough. They're different. And, whether either way you go, there's always going to be something about these exams. So you have to just be prepared. Study the best that you can, and just give yourself the opportunity to fail before you count yourself out, because you never know. You may walk in there and be like, okay, I've got this. And you walk out with your certification. So give yourself a chance, and don't talk down on yourself. When people have that self-deprecating behavior and they really say these horrible things about themselves. Oh, I'm not that smart. Oh, I really don't know. And I'm never going to get this. You're feeding that to your brain, and your brain is like, oh, okay, yeah, we're not that smart and we can't do this. Yes, you can. There's lots of people that do this and they're very successful at it. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to be the one to say, yes, I can. Because every single time you say, oh, I don't know, you got to say, yes, I can. At least that's my advice anyway. Let's get to some of these comments. All right, before I get to the rest of my questions. All right, so Lily says, hello, Mitney. Ashley, hello, Ashley. Lily says, I wanted to know if I get certified for physician coding, will that limit me to only working in a physician practice, or can I do outpatient coding as well, for example, with an ambulatory center? Let me ask you this, Lily. What certification are you sitting for? Please answer and I'll be able to respond to that question. Hi, Letitia. Um, Hi, Liz. Britt says, do you have multiple coding books or is it just one big one? There is multiple. You're working with the diagnosis book, which is the ICD-10-CM book, and then you're working with the procedures book, which is the CPT manual, current procedural terminology if you are on the outpatient side. If you are on the inpatient side, you are also working with the ICD-10 PCS book. If you are working on the inpatient side, you are only working with the ICD-10-CM, the diagnosis book, ICD-10 PCS, that is a procedures book, and the HCPCS book. If you're working on the outpatient side, you're working with the ICD-10-CM book, the CPT book, and the HCPCS book. So that's the way that those those go. Are medical coding and billing the same thing? No, it is not. Medical coding is actually looking at the record and abstracting the diagnoses and the procedures and everything that happened and any supplies and things like that. And medical billing is actually processing that information and those codes and those procedures and sending it to the insurance company. So it's two completely separate functions. Sometimes it is the same person who's doing it, but other times it is two different people that are doing it. So it really all depends on how big the facility is that you're working in, or if it's a doctor's office and you're like the only coder and you're the biller. It really, again, it depends. Sometimes I hear them separately. It is a separate function, but it can be done by the same person. Rebecca, when starting out, what kind of coding do you recommend for a beginner? Anything and everything, wherever they will put you. Don't be scared. Liz, the creator, in your opinion, which side of coding do you think is easier, inpatient or outpatient? I know this is a relative question and it all depends on the person. So to me, because my coding home has been in the outpatient side, but I would also have to say in the same breath that there's a lot of people that say inpatient is easy to them because there's no evaluation and management leveling in there. It is just the PCS portion, the ICD-10 PCS, if you're going to do the procedures, right? And on the inpatient side. And with that, I would have to say, well, you still have to know like your MSDRG and you have to know the sequencing, perfect sequencing and things like that. So there's a lot of trade-off between the two. So either way you go, it just depends on how good your teacher is that is teaching you and where you feel most comfortable. For me, I like working with the CPT manual because the codes are already made. I don't have to build anything. In the ICD-10 PCS manual, you are building those codes when you are building procedures that are done on the inpatient side of the house. So it really all depends. And yes, it is a relative question. Heidi says, hi, Blue. Which one do you like better, ICD-10 or ICD-9? Thank you for emphasizing the fact that you don't need 8 credentials in order to be a successful coder. Actually, I like ICD-10 better, only because of the injuries. The injuries really expanded in ICD-10, like big time. And because of that, you know, I've just been more fascinated with it. And being that the time is probably about equal now, I would say between the time I started in ICD-9 and now, it's about equal. So, I mean, I would say, you know, I like 10 better. McZeal, if you have completed a certification program and you pass your certification test for AAPC, are you still given the A for the CPC certification until you meet the 2 years of experience? Yes, you have 2 years. That's a requirement for AAPC to be able to remove that A from the CPCA. Kalia says, hello, Blue. I'm working on a class project in advanced coding lab and I've got 2 questions. What originally got you in the field, and what is the hardest obstacle you overcame? I'm gonna come back to that. Lily says, I'm sitting for physician coding blue. Hi King. Lily says, the program I'm in, I'm being taught physician, outpatient, and inpatient, but I have to choose which program I want by next week, and I chose physician coding. Okay, but you're not telling me which certification you want to sit for. So do you want to sit for the CCS? Do you want to sit for the CCA? Do you want to sit for the CCSP? Or do you want to sit for the CPC? So that's what I'm looking for. Which credential are you sitting for? Not what program. What credential do you want to sit for? There's the difference there. So Kalia, what originally got you interested into this field? You obviously haven't been watching my channel very long. I was unemployed, and I went to a class because at the unemployment office, they send you to classes to work on your resume, to work on your job skills and things like that. And they also had one for education. So I showed up to the class, and they said, well, we have funding for people who have been displaced. And because I was laid off, I was technically displaced. You're laid off, and we have these funds. If you want to go to a trade school or a technical school, we have all of these programs. You could be a truck driver, a beautician, I think another one was phlebotomist, one was a medical assistant, and there was medical coder, there was accounting. So I said, okay, well, I'll do accounting because I like numbers. I like to do math. Math is my thing. And so my case manager was like, well, what about medical coding? And I said, oh, no, I don't work with needles. I don't do none of that. And he said, no, it has nothing to do with needles. Is you're reading all day, and you are processing these records, and you're looking through there and getting the diagnosis for insurance and statistical purposes. So I was like, that sounds interesting. And so he said, okay, well, just check the schools out. Go to these 3 schools, check them out. He goes, and if you decide you don't like it, let me know. We'll get you in the accounting program. And I said, okay. So I went to these schools, and I started talking to the recruiters. Well, the first 2 recruiters were all about, you know how much money you're going to be able to make as a medical coder? Oh, you're going to make all this money. Okay, next. Oh, all this money in medical coding. Next. I'm not driven that way. I'm not. Not everybody is. Because I believe that if you love what you do, the money will come. And I don't have to worry about that, right? And so I said, so the 3rd school was like, what do you know about medical coding? I said, nothing. She goes, okay, let me explain something to you. So she starts breaking down the 2 major medical coding associations. And then she starts telling me about the field, and that it's going to grow, and that there's longevity in this field. There's all of these things. There's job stability. I can work anywhere. If I wanted to work remote later on, she says, oh yeah, you can do that later on, but you really want to get experience working in a hospital first. And so I said, oh, okay, sounds good. And then she mentioned in passing what medical coders make. So I was like, okay, I like this lady, because she's telling me about the work and not all this fancy sell tactics. And so I was like, okay. So I picked that school, and the rest is history. And the other one was, what was the hardest obstacle you overcame? Like what, learning? Is that what you're asking? Let me know. Rebecca says, Blue, what is the best place to buy a bundle of books at the best price? Oh, my favorite website, Optum360coding.com. Although this is not an ad for Optum360 Coding, but I will say that they always have really good sales, and they have it under best deals. So you can check their website, Optum360coding.com, and all the good deals are there. There's also eBay, there's also Amazon. So you can check those out. Educational or work related. Probably finding my first job was my biggest obstacle. And that's the biggest obstacle for any new medical coder, is finding their first job and staying motivated to find their first job when they keep getting told no. When I was searching for a medical coding job, I went everywhere. I applied at all these places, and they all kept turning me down and saying no. I was taking these assessment tests and I was passing, but they said I needed experience. So I went to a temp agency that specializes in medical professions, which I always tell coders to do. And then I said, okay, well, here's my resume. This is what I can do, you know, and they gave me an assignment, and that was how I got my first job. And that's how I got my second job. So that was that. Britt says that's funny because I draw blood now. I love it. You do that. That is totally fine. I would never foo-foo somebody's joy, but for me, no. I think if there's too much blood, I think I would pass out. But that's just me. Like, boom. Miss Rue says, I'm so late. My first live here. Oh, welcome. I'm looking into health information management. I am currently a physical therapist assistant. Where should I start research for schools? AHIMA.org, AHIMA.org, or AAPC.com. Either one of these. They're both the two major medical coding associations. Both of them have online medical coding programs. Obviously, you have your physical therapist assistant. So if you're going through AAPC, you can skip their anatomy course and medical terminology course because you already have that down. And you can go right into the coding if you chose to, if you wanted to go through them for training. So it's entirely up to you. But yeah, that would be where you start. Hi, Aurora. Heidi, Optum 360 should sponsor your videos. They really should. If you're listening, Optum, call me. But yes. So I love Optum. I mean, if you're a coder and you need specialty books and you need to have that little extra edge, oh, they have coding companions. They have the Coder Desk reference for diagnoses and procedures. I'm telling you guys what, this stuff makes things so much easier to understand. At least it helped me. That was my experience with those books. But when you're looking for books, that is the one that I rely on. These are the books that I trust. There are other publishers out there, but the other publishers don't have the same information, like the extra information. And it's like getting a generic book. If you get just any old book, you get a cheap book. Having the proper tools as a medical coder goes a long way in your knowledge base, because again, there are some coding tips throughout the Optum 360 book that I have seen that are not in other publishers' books. So that is something that you should be aware of. Yes, there's probably some good things in some of the other publishers' manuals for coding, because it is all the codes, but it's the extra stuff that sets them apart, sets Optum apart, at least in my opinion. Does that answer your question, Kalia? For your class? Let's see. And while I'm waiting on her, let me go and answer some more questions that I have here. Oh, the last question that I had, because yeah, that was it. Estimate the percentage of cases where you end up having to query the provider to clarify. Just curious. Thank you. So here's the thing. Actually, Kalia, I have a video where I addressed all of the questions that are from like a school, because I kept getting like the same questions over and over again from students. Oh, I need to interview somebody. And so they said, oh, well, I'm interviewing you. And so it's the same questions. And this has a general listing of all the questions that have been asked to me before. So I'll have to look it up and then I'll put it in the community tab. So that way you can check it out for more information. But estimate the percentage of cases where you end up having to query the provider. For clarity, just curious. Here's the thing. In the beginning, when I first got to my providers and I had not worked with them at all, they didn't have any education. Yes, in the beginning, you're going to query a lot, especially if you don't have time to educate them because they don't know. And if they come from a place where the coder maybe was a lot hands-off, right? Hands-off with the provider, didn't really talk to them, that could be a problem too. Because sometimes providers, they don't want to be, they don't want to have anybody talk to them other than their staff, and they want to do whatever it is they want to do. And sometimes if a coder has not made the proper impression, a provider will lose patience. Now, I'm not saying this to scare people. Please don't be afraid, okay? This is just something that happens. And in my instance, this was the case. They were not used to coders coming up to them, talking to them. So they said, okay, well, no, I don't have to do what you say. Okay, well, here's the thing. We're partners and we're going to work together on this. All right. So I'm going to work with you and you got to work with me. That's the only way we're going to be able to get this thing done. And so now my percentage of query is very low because they know what I need. In the beginning, it was basic things like laterality. They weren't documenting it. It's like, okay, like which side? The patient's femur is broken. Okay, well, congratulations. Which side? There's a different code for every side, And so they had to get down, drill down to the detail. Was it displaced or was it non-displaced? And that kind of thing. Is it open or is it a closed fracture? And you have to be able to talk them through, like, this is the details that we need, because sometimes they're not aware. And sometimes if you tell them, okay, what is your plan? Well, it's just common sense that I'm going to prescribe them medication. It's in the orders. Yes, but I can't code from your orders. I got to code with what's in your documentation for the day. So I can't be looking in all these other extra documents. It's got to be right there. And so they go, well, I didn't know that. Well, now you know. So just, it's talking to them that makes all the difference. So again, my percentage of query is very low. If I have to query them for anything, it's something that they maybe missed, or, it's a typo. It's a typo, and I'll ask them to please clarify. Because it could be anything, but things, they happen. So my percentage of query is too low to even count anymore, because I've been always with them and training them. So now the coding runs pretty smoothly. And you'll find that after a while, when you've taken the time to work with your providers and you stay on top of any kind of trends of them backsliding, you'll be able to catch anything before it starts. And that is the best way to be. It's, at least in my opinion. All right, Hannah says, so update, I am now an AAPC member, congratulations, and will be taking my CPC exam at the end of September, gonna buy the CPC study guide and practice exams. This is getting real, yes it is, but you're gonna do great, Hannah, you're gonna do great. Mary Ellen, what is charge master and what would a charge analyst do? Okay, I'm not a biller, so that's more on the billing side. Okay, I'm a medical coder. And so again, charge master is Google, and we'll Google that in a second. Shannon, Hannah, that's awesome. Ariel, I missed part of that Optum 360 discussion. Is there a separate book? Is there a coder's reference book for diagnosis and procedure lookups, or is it just the CPT or ICD-10 books? Explore the Optum 360 website. It is there. They do have the coder desk reference for diagnoses and procedures. They also have the coding companion. The coding companion is broken down by different individual specialties. And with that, it tells you the procedure. It tells you an explanation of the procedure. It tells you all the diagnoses that go with that procedure. It will also tell you what the RVUs are for that procedure. It will tell you some commonly used words with that. So there's a lot of really good, valuable information in these books. But that type of book is a coding companion. And the Coder Desk Reference is still a really good book for either diagnoses or procedures. And a Coder Desk Reference literally breaks down every single code into plain English. What does this code cover? Okay. It's okay, A. Williams. It's fine that you're late, but you're still here. Now, back to what is a charge master and what would a charge analyst do? So let's see. What is, and since I don't do billing, I'm going to put it in here because I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth. Okay. What is a charge master? Google is your friend, folks. There's a lot of things that you can Google, especially questions like that. And it's the first thing. A hospital charge master is a comprehensive list of the hospital's products, procedures, and services, everything that they have and do, right? And this came from George Washington University, is the one that answered that. Oh, no, go back. There's one that says, what is a purpose? What is the purpose of a charge master? A hospital charge description master, known as a charge master or CDM, contains the prices of all services, goods, and procedures for which a separate charge exists. It is used to generate a patient's bill. Okay, so again, that's the billing side. Okay, and what was the other question? I think that should be sufficient enough to answer what that means. Where is the question? And what is a charge analyst? And I would think that that would be somebody who reviews. What is a charge analyst? Again, very easy to Google. What does a charge master analyst do? And this is on ZipRecruiter. A charge description master or charge master analyst maintains the list of billable services for a hospital. And it talks about what the job duties are. What does a charge master analyst do? The accuracy of medical coding, charge descriptions, and hospital rates, as well as maximizing insurance reimbursements and patient cash pay or other responsibilities. So again, it's a big part of the billing department. How do I become a charge master analyst? The qualifications you need to become a charge master analyst or charge description master analyst are a bachelor's degree in business finance, or accounting, in addition to experience with medical billing and coding. So hopefully that answers your question, Mary Ellen. Nope. Does anyone accept nope? Just wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting my time taking it. You will be if you do. So no, I only recommend AHIMA or AAPC, because if you look in the job description, if you are looking to become a medical coder and you want to be taken seriously, those are the two main medical coding associations that they're looking for. They are not looking for anything else. They are looking for the CCS, the CCSP, the CCA, or the CPC. These are the top 4 that are being asked for. There is one more, the CIC. That is a certified inpatient coder, and that is the inpatient credential with AAPC. I have seen employers look for that as well. So those 5 are what employers look for. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad, Brian. Thank you so much. But yes, very straight to the point. That's what I do. I don't like people to waste their time, and I don't like people to waste their money either. It bothers me, especially in a field that I love, right? Because when you spend so much money on things that are unnecessary, it can plant that seed of bitterness because you don't need it. concentrate on the things that you need to, like maintaining the one, right? You're welcome. But yes, that is my advice there. And so I typically don't talk about that other one because of the simple fact that I don't, I just don't, because I don't want people to, sometimes people half hear me. There's been plenty of times where I've said something in a video and people have half heard me and they go, well, wait a minute, Blue. And I said, okay, did you watch the video? So, but yes. I am so happy with you, Hannah. I'm so glad that you have a test date and that you are raring to go. I'm very excited for your journey. I can't wait. But yes, if you are out there, there's a lot to this field. And tomorrow I am going to be talking about schedule your test. And it's funny that you talked about this tonight, Hannah. But tomorrow is schedule your test, because so many people were sitting on the fence. Yesterday when I was talking during the show, there was a lot of people that were telling me, they were messaging me, Blue, I'm scared. I'm scared to sit for the exam. I don't feel like I'm ready yet. If you don't feel like you're ready, you're never going to feel like you're ready, especially if you've gone through a fast program or you've gone through a program where you mostly kind of taught yourself. You're going to feel that way. But there are things that you can do for yourself. You have to be able to grab the bull by the horns and, be able to face this. This is something that we as medical coders do. There's a lot of us that self-taught to learn medical coding. I was literally sat in front of a computer and said, here, learn. So I did go through that myself. And I read and I go over all these things. So that was what made it okay for me. And I didn't rely on other people to be like, okay, well, it's going to be this and it's going to be that. Especially if I know that they don't know. Yeah, I don't rely on them. At my school, again, it was just, they were just proctoring. They weren't coders. They were just people who have this space and they're training this program online. You should be able to learn it online. So they said, okay, here you go. So that was the deal with them. But if this is something that you want to do, you'll do it. And if it's something you want to learn, you will learn it on your own. You won't let anything stop you. And that's the important thing to think about, is don't let anything stop you. Not the fact that you don't have experience, not the fact that you're older, not the fact that it's like your second or third career. Nothing will get in your way if you really want to do this. And if you want to give it up so easily, then you didn't want it bad enough. You have to want this bad enough, because it's a commitment, folks. It's not something for the faint at heart. It's going to take a lot. Your ego is going to get bruised. My ego's gotten bruised more than once, especially in the beginning when I got rejected a lot. Oof, from all those jobs. Oh yeah, I did. Or when I didn't understand something. Yeah. And when you don't understand something and, you're kind of on your own to get it, you have to kind of find your way. You learn really fast how to do your research. The stronger you are with research, the stronger you know how to use Google, utilize those avenues to be able to look up stuff, the better and easier it's going to be for you. But you can't get discouraged. The discouragement is what is the seed that's going to mess up everything. If you let it, don't let it ruin what you want. At least that's what I got to say. But it comes with the territory. That terrified part, oh yeah. Comes with the territory. But when you get over that, it's all the more better. Trust me. I'm just saying. Is there any other questions tonight? Because it looks like we have no more comments. Going once, going twice. Do you have to take the vaccine if you're a coder? I think you asked me that last time, didn't you? It depends on the facility. And like I said last time, we're in the medical field. Your personal opinion about how all those things go is your personal opinion. But facilities have to have a they have to be able to provide a safe work environment and that kind of thing. So they're insured as well. These facilities are insured. So they have to be able to set up these rules. If that is something that you're not really into or that you don't want to do, then I would strongly suggest that you rethink, because this is always going to come up. This is always going to be an issue. Now, I don't know every employer in the world, but there are plenty of employers that are requiring this. We've all seen the news. We've seen what's happened in Houston. We've seen what's happened in Florida. So because of that, I mean, if that's a question that you have, you can always ask the facility that you're going to go try to work at. But think about that. This is the medical field. And even though we are not hands-on with patients, it doesn't mean that we're not exposed to those types of things. And so that's something that you got to keep in mind, that we may not be on the floor, but we're still in the building. And that is where, I guess, the safety part of it all comes into play. So that's all I got to say on that one. But yes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Because it really does help. I mean, YouTube will push this video out more the more likes it gets. So thanks again, guys. And Kalia, would you say in your workplace that you and your coworkers are close and reliable? Or is it more of fend for yourself, distant workplace? That's a good question. You're welcome, Sherry. You're welcome, A. Williams. How do I answer this? You're welcome, Yvette. Let's see. You know what? I'm trying to think of a way how to say this, right? I'm trying to think of how to best say it. All right. For me, I work in the clinic by myself. I have ortho and podiatry. My focus is, in turn, not my coworkers, right? Because I don't deal with them on a daily basis. I see them in the hallway, sure. But they're not my focus. I don't work with them. I work with my providers, and they're my focus. I focus on them. I concentrate on them. There are girls in the hospital that are besties with each other, and that's great. But for me, it's me and my boys in my clinic. That is what that is. And however it is in your facility, however it is in your area, is how you will look at your job, how you will look at your profession. And for me, I'm focused on my providers and providing the best coding for them that I possibly can. And so that takes plenty of my time. So hope that answers your question. But I wouldn't say that it was, well, can't even say that. I don't know. I don't know how to say it other than how I just said it. Oh, the Bahamas. Oh, hello, Bridget. I bet that's nice weather down there right now. It's been raining over here today. But yeah, so that would be how I would answer that. I am not close with my coworkers. I'm close with my providers. There are some coworkers that are close together, besties again, but that's not me, because I'm with my providers. That's where I choose to spend my energy. So I think that I answered that well. Yes, nice and sunny. Oh, I bet it is. Thank you. This live was very educational and helpful. I do appreciate your time. Well, you're welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you'll join me tomorrow for Take Your Test. This is all going to be all about scheduling that exam. If you need that extra push and motivation, tomorrow's the best day for it. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. Bye.